So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with the introducing the next speaker. The next speaker up is going to talk to us about a World IPv6 Day recap, and the speaker is Dan York of the Internet Society. Dan is the Senior Content Strategist at the Internet Society, and that program that I talked about earlier that we're putting together and we're launching in December next month, Dan is playing a very big role in this. So Dan's going to be actively engaged in this project, and if you're engaging with us, you'll likely be engaging with Dan. Previously, before coming to us about a month or two ago, Dan was the Director of Conversations at Voxeo, where he managed all the conversations with the community for his company. And I've got to tell you, just looking at what he's got online and what I've got to know about him over the last couple of months, and I've been in this industry for 15 plus years in the core of it, working in the registry system and everywhere else. He is one of the best technology conversationalists there is. So, Dan, please come up and talk to us about World IPv6 Day.
All right, thanks, Richard. It's great to be back here in Canada, actually. I worked for Mitel from 2001 to 2007 and actually lived in Ottawa from 2000 to 2005. So it's great to be back up here. When I came here and I saw somebody walking down the street with a Tim Hortons cup of coffee, I said, I know I'm here. So, first question. How many of you participated in World IPv6 Day? Excellent. Well, yes, we'd expect some of you to do that. Okay. So the basic point of World IPv6 Day was to take us from the state where we have to go to ipv6.google.com or some other site like that and be able to go using IPv6 at the native IP, at the native URLs. That was really the kind of the big test that was going on. So one of the questions, of course, is what did we learn, what happened, all of those. If you look at the overall stats, I'm going to show a bunch of things. I only have a few minutes here, but there were literally thousands of companies that participated. You know, the big names got a lot of the play as far as YouTube and Facebook and Google and Yahoo, Akamai on the content delivery side, a lot of the companies there, but there were literally thousands of companies that went in and set it up and used it either on their own networks or set up their websites and part of that. You know, we saw a number of hosting companies that literally added thousands of domains that had IPv6, and many of those continued and stayed afterwards. How many of you have looked at the charts that showed up afterwards about what was going on? A few people in here, okay? Well, here's some of them. This was from Arbor Networks, showed their graph of the traffic that they saw on their network, and you could see there was an awful lot of content that was going on right there that was all IPv6 capable in that time. Akamai had a chart up on their site which shows again the peak of the traffic that was hitting their content network, you know, again all over IPv6 during that time period. Facebook had a big spike in there as far as all the IPv6 traffic they saw coming into their site that was going on in there. You know, Yahoo showed a similar nice chart of that. I mean, the caveat to all of this is that while it was nice charts when you changed the scales, right? You know, the needle was moved. We did get more people using IPv6 and all of that, and a lot of folks using it, but in this case, many times it was, as it says here, a doubling of small numbers. You know, some of the stats were around really, you know, getting to 0.02% of the users in some of the spaces that are out there, or in this, you know, which, hey, it was a step anyway, right? So what did we learn? One of the things we learned was that it was not the end of the internet, as some people were, you know, prophesizing. There was no apocalypse. It was okay. Everything worked out well. We also did not have any of these DDoS. Did you see the articles that were saying we're going to have these massive DDoS attacks on World IPv6 Day? There were some of those floating around. It was, you know, this was going to be the end of the internet in so many ways. We did, though, also discover that there was a key value in setting a date. And we saw Jacques earlier talking about how that date was a good motivator for them. How many of you folks, was the date a good motivator to get something going with IPv6? Okay, I'm seeing some nods and hands and all that. Yeah. So we certainly saw that there's power in that kind of deadline that was there. Also discovered, user preparation is critical, right? I mean, this wasn't a discovery. It was just a learning out of there was that helping the user base. And what you're seeing on this slide is both Google, Facebook, and Yahoo all were very proactive in alerting users to the fact that there was something coming up, and that in some cases they might need to go and change something. They need to go and configure their settings in certain ways. So notifying the users was also something that was very key. Some of the broad observations we saw certainly was that, you know, about 2/3 of the sites that participated in some way still remained on for some period of time after that. The traffic increased. And certainly, I think those folks who, well, let me ask you folks, for you who benefit, Was it valuable to you to have gone through that exercise? Yes, I see people nodding their heads. What did you folks learn out of it? Well, you guys obviously got IPv6 up and running. Okay. What else? Anyone else? Oh, and what did you learn out of it?
Well, we just left it running.
Oh, I know, you guys are.
Every day is VC.
Lots of other people join you folks from Hurricane Electric. So the key thing was we saw a lot of good benefit from folks who were using as a motivator to go and work with us. The other piece that we noticed was that happy eyeballs, this protocol, this idea you've heard mentioned a couple times, it worked. And this is the idea that with browsers prior to World IPv6 Day and a lot of things, we had this case where you'd go out and you'd request a DNS record for a domain, google.com or facebook.com. And you get back both the quad A record for IPv6 and you get the regular A record for the IPv4 address, and your browser would go and try them both, or try the IPv6 one first, because the operating system was set to go and do that, and the browser was set to go and do that, and it would wait, and it would wait, and it would wait. And then finally it would give up and fall back to the v4 address, all right, creating unhappy people, and creating this idea that IPv6 was broken because I couldn't browse to Facebook very fast. Okay, this is what the idea was. Let's prevent this by doing something very simple. Send out both requests for the quad A, to contact the site over IPv6 and contact it over IPv4, and whichever one comes back fastest is the one that I use. Which is why if you're using browsers like Chrome, and you go to, we had this case actually on a call not so long ago, a couple of my websites, and actually in the ISOC Do Hub, have a little meter on it that says, hey, you've connected by IPv6 or you've connected by IPv4. And some folks on a call that they were saying, hey, your site's, how come I can't get to you by IPv6? Well, through some looking at it, what was happening was that the browser they were using, in this case Google Chrome, was doing this kind of test, finding out that IPv4 connectivity was actually faster to our site from this particular person than using IPv4. So it's a way of saying, this is the speed, there actually is a draft out there called V6, Draft IETF V6 Ops Happy Eyeballs. And if you just go and search on that, it's a draft by Dan Wing and a couple others, talking about this whole idea of querying, getting the records back, connecting on both IPv6 and v4, and figuring out whichever one is faster. Now, some of the results out of this, the chart you can see here, this was a report out of Google on the number of errors they were seeing in their browsers. Okay, and you can see there was a drop-off there, and that coincided with when they pushed out a new version of Chrome that had this, they call it fast fallback. And what they actually do is they don't do both IPv6 and IPv4 at the same time. They do IPv6, and then a few milliseconds, microseconds, something later, they do v4 if they haven't gotten back an instantaneous response on v6. So they've done something on that. Same kind of idea, though. Try them both, see whichever one works. And so you can see Mozilla's added that feature. Apple's put that in there. Other folks are looking to add it to various browsers. On the web browser front, this is making it so that you can be able to go and hit v6 and v4 sites and be able to go to them and not see any performance difference depending on what you're going to. So certainly as we work in the transition period, this will be a key part of things. One of the challenges, I think, for us as an industry as a whole is to take this same approach and move that out into other areas. I am in the very bizarre position of now being in the Internet Society, and when I went into Mitel back in 2001, I was a data guy coming into a voice company. And now, 10 years later, I'm coming into the Internet Society, which is a hardcore data group, and I'm a voice guy coming in there, which is really bizarre for me personally. The nethead, bellhead thing, disconnecting my brain. But anyway, one of the things is, in the real-time communication space, we have the same kind of issue when we start looking at SIP clients and real-time communication capabilities. How do we go and make it so we can connect over both V6 or V4 and be able to work with whatever connection works the fastest? SSH, SMTP, all of these protocols are the same kind of things. So I'm going to basically end it here and say that if you want to learn more about this and what happened in World IPv6 Day, you can still go to the site. It's up. It has content. It has links to some of these materials that are here. There's also a link to the IETF 81 Technical Plenary. If you go and look at that, there's a link out there from the IETF. If you just look for IETF 81, or I gave a shortened link there that I'll put out as well. That plenary The slides are out there. I believe there's a recording out there. Is there? There should be. I think there is a recording out there too. But that plenary has a lot of information from Leslie Daigle from the Internet Society, and also folks from Google, Facebook, Yahoo, Telefonica, Cisco, some others who were all part of what they saw. So you can see larger sets of information on what they saw as they went through there. Arbor Networks also has a good bit of information. The RIPE NCC has a lot of information on the impact of what happened there as well. So with that, I'm going to say thank you very much. Again, I'm York at isoc.org, and I'll be up here a little bit later to talk more a bit about what we're doing with DoHub.